All right, so this is the story of Dubious. First part, Dubious and the Kingdom by the Lake. There once upon a time, that there lived an owl once upon a time. He was a special owl, an owl with 7 wings. And Dubious was the name of the owl with 7 wings. One day, Dubious the owl with 7 wings was out traveling, leaving the land of 7 wings. As he was out traveling, he did come to a place that I assure you was unlike any other place. It was surrounded on all sides by fierce dragon cells, which guarded a kingdom of all kingdoms, guarding the kingdom quite well. And the kingdom itself was located within a great lake, and the lake was great and superior, and quite a mighty great lake, with waves on all sides, seemingly in likeness to an ocean. Even the top of the lake was in likeness to the most beautiful ocean. And there were many doves there in the middle of the great superior lake, in likeness to giant men having 7 wings each. There to greet Dubious in the middle of the great superior lake. There in the middle of the great superior lake, there was a throne, a crown, and a scepter, and the name Dubious was written on the throne, crown, and scepter. And when Dubious sat upon the throne, with the crown on and scepter in hand, there was peace forevermore in each land, each and every land. And this is the story of Dubious and the kingdom by the lake, a story told from time to time, forevermore, even unto this very day. Second part is Dubious and the kingdom by the waterfall. And there was yet another time, once upon a time, that Dubious the 7 winged owl was resting in the kingdom by the lake once upon a time, when he heard of something quite interesting from the giant doves that once upon a time there was news of a great waterfall kingdom that began to linger in his mind. So Dubious decided to venture out, going there as fast as he could, knowing that his journey would surely prove to be good. And when Dubious did arrive, there were 7 rainbow-colored emeralds there at the waterfall, at the top of a crystal staircase, as Dubious did arrive. And there were many different rainbow-colored creatures, all with 7 wings each one, speaking, "Come soak in the water, come have some fun." And so Dubious did soak in the water, there at the bottom of the crystal stair at the waterfall. And when he came up out of the water, he had become the greatest creature that anyone had ever saw. His 7 wings and entire body were golden rainbow emerald colored, and the other creatures immediately spoke Dubious, all of the creatures that were rainbow colored. "Welcome home, King. It is good to see you. We wondered if you would return. We are happy. We are so happy to see you." And there Dubious remained for the rest of his days as king of the kingdom by the waterfall, where he is king even unto this very day. Third part, Dubious and the kingdom by the ocean. And there was still yet another time, once upon a time, that Dubious the 7 winged owl was there at the kingdom by the waterfall once upon a time, when word was spreading through the kingdom of yet another great kingdom. Only this kingdom was under attack by many kingdoms, and the kingdom was a friend of the kingdom by the waterfall. So Dubious went there as fast as he could to put the fighting to an end. And when Dubious did arrive, there was much fighting, for the fighting was fierce, causing more and more fighting. So Dubious came up with an idea, one of the greatest ideas indeed. He took his scepter from the kingdom by the lake, placing all of his power in the sky on that very day. And when he did, food began to rain from the sky, never ending food, for it was a never ending food supply. And this did cause the fighting to stop, for the kingdoms were just hungry the entire time. And the hunger caused the fighting. The hunger caused the kingdoms to lose their minds. And from then on, there was peace in the kingdom by the ocean. And Dubious was given the kingdom by the ocean, becoming the king of the kingdom by the ocean. And there Dubious sits as king even unto this very day, as the king of the kingdom by the ocean even unto this very day. Fourth part, Dubious and the kingdom by the river. And there was a certain time, once upon a time, that Dubious, the seven-winged owl, was sitting in the kingdom by the ocean once upon a time. And feeling sad, Dubious wanted something new to do. So Dubious decided to go on a journey to truly find something new. He came across ogres with many arms, sloths with many legs, and even dinosaurs and dragons, all having many different heads. But throughout the entire journey, Dubious had still not found something new until he came to a kingdom by a river where the water was transparently new. There he saw seven winged doves, seven winged eagles, seven winged birds of all kinds, something to Dubious, the seven winged owl, that was quite unbelievable. The water there flowed was truly indescribable. The water flowed in all directions, all the time, always. It was truly indescribable. And there was even a throne room, a courtyard, and a chamber, and many rooms in the kingdom. Quite a magnificent kingdom it was indeed. I assure you, it was a truly magnificent kingdom. And the creatures there began speaking, "It is our king, King Dubious. You are our returned king." And the creatures brought Dubious to the throne room for a throne on to sit. And there King Dubious sat, and the sky spoke when King Dubious on the throne did sit. The sky spoke, "We are pleased forevermore, for the king has returned to the kingdom by the river forevermore." And the creatures were pleased, as well as the kingdom forevermore. And there King Dubious reigned as king of the kingdom by the river forever and evermore. Fifth part, Dubious and the kingdom by the sea. And there was a time, once upon a time, a certain time, once upon a time, that King Dubious, the king of four kingdoms, sat on his throne in the kingdom by the river once upon a time. And as he sat on his throne, King Dubious heard of seven winged dragons with seven heads and seven tails, causing great destruction all around his kingdoms, leaving devastating trails. So King Dubious took to the place where the dragons did stay, a place just over a large mountainside, just outside a kingdom by the sea. There the dragons lived, there the dragons did stay, in a very fierce place, in a very rugged place. And as King Dubious did approach, the dragons did attack. Too many dragons to count, but little did the dragons know that they were about to meet their match. For Dubious the king had a power that no one knew, not even he. For King Dubious was an owl solely made of lightning, full of shocking electricity. And when King Dubious was hit just once, too many different kinds of electricity devoured the dragons until there were none left, not even one, not one dragon. And then the kingdom by the sea was opened, and the scepter was given to King Dubious. For the entire world was saved on that day by King Dubious. And their King Dubious reigned as king forevermore and always. Their King Dubious is king forevermore, forevermore, and always. Sixth part. Dubious and the kingdom by the strait. There was a time, once upon a time, that King Dubious was sitting on his throne. On the throne in the kingdom by the sea sat King Dubious, and the electricity flowed all over the kingdom by the sea, as King Dubious sat on the throne each and every time. King Dubious sat upon the throne. But as King Dubious sat there, one fine and tranquil day, King Dubious heard of a certain calamity that was coming his way. So King Dubious decided to leave his throne to a destination near a kingdom by the strait, in a certain place seemingly unknown, for this calamity was coming from a seemingly unknown place. And when King Dubious did arrive to the seemingly unknown place, there was a giant hydra standing there in a giant geyser, for it was a giant place. And the hydra immediately unleashed a flood to sweep King Dubious away. But the seven-winged owl was going nowhere. King Dubious, the seven-winged owl, was not going away. At that very moment during the flood, King Dubious unleashed an electric wall, and upon the giant hydra, the electric wall did fall, smashing the giant hydra to pieces, never to bother anyone ever again. And immediately the gates of the kingdom by the strait opened, ushering King Dubious in. And there King Dubious was made king, king of the kingdom by the strait. And there King Dubious is king unto this very day, king of the kingdom by the strait. Seventh part. Dubious and the great water kingdoms. There was a certain day, King Dubious and his armies met with 5 kings, did King Dubious and his armies. The first king was in likeness to a lamb. The second king was in likeness to a calf. The third king was in likeness to a lion. And the fourth king was in likeness to a man, far from a calf. And the fifth king was in likeness to an eagle. Unbelievable. What a sight it was to see. Surely unbelievable. But the meeting was greatly necessary, for there were forces threatening all of Dubious's kingdoms, including the 5 great water kingdoms. For there was a forceful creature of hate, destroying with hate upon all the kingdoms. The creature was attacking each and every living thing, he and his armies, each and every living thing they were attacking. And then it happened. Dubious and the 5 other kings came up with a plan that was necessary, but a plan that only they and their armies would understand. The 6 kings and their armies gathered at the great strait where the hateful serpent would be. There to stop the hateful creature, there to stop the hateful creature indeed. And when the hateful serpent and his armies did finally appear indeed, there at the great strait to unleash a final attack to destroy everything indeed. A seventh great and mighty king did appear. He had too many great and mighty kings to count with an attack, immediately wiping the hateful serpent and his armies out. And the earth was safe forevermore. So is each and every world. So is each and everything safe in each and every place forevermore. And scepters began to form in the skies along with thrones and crowns for each and every king, including Dubious, and the five kings and their armies. And from then on, each and every place were places no longer necessary for armies. For each and every living thing had a scepter, a crown, and a throne. Each and every place was a kingdom, thanks to the courage of King Dubious and the five kings from the great water kingdom. That, my friend, is the story of Dubious. I'm out.